first and most important word of Brooklynese. Forget about. Okay, so can we practice that on the count of three, everyone? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there we go. Very good.
As someone entering to someone's local community, there is an obligation to respect the heritage and the history of that community and to not put your view of who they should be sort of upon the people there, but rather seek to come as someone who's open to learning.
So therefore, we're going to fight this war, and they won. Because the Bronx Museum is very much a community museum and helps particularly Bronx-inspired artists or people who have been marginalized, so it bridges them. It gives them access to these markets. So it's very much everything that goes into the Bronx Museum, all of the monies goes back into the community to ensure that artists have the opportunity to get to the next level with their work.
Many New Yorkers understand that tourism brings in billions of dollars to local economies, but I don't think that they understand how their story connects to the story of visitors and tourists. If tourism is done correctly, tourism can actually step in the gap and provide revenue to keep institutions open. Churches that we visit, we give a portion of our revenue to. And so what that ends up doing is that you're able as a tour company to create an economic foundation so that an institution can survive. So there are creative ways of using tourism, just like business in general, to actually help sustain a community if the approach is done correctly. My philosophy has always been, if you build it, they will come. So to a certain extent, some of our tours are just iconic New York, but then I create tours that I think are important to the community.
But the front of the building here actually reflects a lot of the racial attitudes that were happening in the early 20th century.
In light of not just COVID, but what's happened with George Floyd, we've created a Know Your Rights tour. And the Know Your Rights tour was created because it is needed.
But these are a reflection of the racial attitudes that were happening in the early 20th century when this building was made. And those attitudes came directly.
So we have always been about diversity, equity, inclusion before it got popular. But I think it wasn't just George Floyd, it was COVID. It created a new sense of urgency. It made me willing to be more vocal and visible than I had been in the past. In the past, I was just content to just run my company and, we reached the people we reached and, sort of like steadily growing along. So George Floyd, just seeing how people were trying to find solutions and how there were so many other people who were rising up and providing bad solutions or like misleading them or gaslighting them and telling them, oh, this isn't actually happening. I was like, I gotta do something. So that created like a sense of urgency, like even in my humble area, I need to do something. So that's what happened there. And it pushed me to be more assertive about getting certain products out there faster. But with everything related to COVID, I was like, I need to get out there. I need to start doing more grassroots. And so sort of that is the new focus for me, is to like grassroots way, get this information out there. When bad things happen, I do believe that you can choose to draw different conclusions. And my hope is that many people will draw the conclusion of life is precious, time is precious. There are people who really need help. What can I do? What is my part in this story? Because we all have a part in this story if we choose to, to look for that meaning.